The AI revolution is here, reinventing medicine, business, finance, entertainment, life as we know it. In a word, it's a transformational technology, but for way too many women, that transformation is literal and deeply alarming. Seeing myself behind bars in an orange jumpsuit is an image I probably won't forget anytime soon. In this episode of Scripps News Reports, we focus on women caught in the web of AI and a storm of disinformation. From the heartland, where teen prom pictures were twisted into porn.
They were photos taken off of our Instagrams and Snapchats that were turned into AI nudes.
It's pretty heartbreaking as a mom.
To North Carolina, where doing a public service means risking your personal safety.
I was threatened multiple times during that conversation with my job, with my pay, and that if I did not comply to their demands, I would be sorry.
And where is this all leading?
How did being a woman factor into the attacks that were directed at you?
A lot. Oh my God. A lot.
A warning about what may be coming if nothing is done from south of the border.
Oh my God, this is huge. They are gonna kill me.
Scripps News reports, sex lies and deepfakes. Welcome to Scripps News Reports. I'm Liz Landers. For the past 6 months, Scripps News has investigated the ways that disinformation-fueled online harassment threatens women around the world. One of the weapons is deepfake images. The deepfake detector group Reality Defender estimates 99% of all deepfake porn is of women and girls. To show just how easy it is to turn a woman into something she isn't, I agreed to be deepfaked.
But let's do your voice.
Lucas Hansen is the co-founder of CivAI, a nonprofit that educates on the abilities and dangers of artificial intelligence.
Sure. Happy to talk about it. Well, voice cloning technology has obviously come a long way in the past few years.
That audio clip was completely fake, generated by AI.
So
it's pretty good.
Yeah.
It maybe doesn't sound exactly like me, but it does sound a lot like me. Next, he created fake images.
So what we're going to do is generate a deepfake image based only off your LinkedIn profile picture here.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Okay. An image of me in a jail cell in an orange jumpsuit circulating on the internet would be damaging to me, would be damaging to a politician, would be damaging to you.
So I guess here's a militarized version of you.
Oh my gosh. Wow, and these all look like me. I think if I showed that image to a friend, a family member, a colleague, they would say, that's you, Liz, in combat gear, carrying a AR-15 style weapon. It's a frightening lesson. AI may feel distant and theoretical, but it's here now, and anyone can be a target. Whether it's an orange prison jumpsuit or a beautiful prom dress, as we found when we traveled to Illinois to a quiet community roiled by an online scandal in their high school. Okay, so this was the dress.
This is the dress in all of its glory.
Well,
it was a very nice dress to wear. I loved it.
It's gorgeous. Stevie Hyder lives in Richmond, Illinois, a town of a little more than 2,000 people. And prom is always a big end-of-the-year event for the teens here. Stevie was proud of that dress, proud of how she looked in April 2023. But her prom picture reemerged nearly a year later, digitally altered in a horrifying way.
We found out that there was images being sent around, but there was very vague and nobody knew what was going on, really.
And what were the images that were circulating?
They were photos taken off of our Instagrams and Snapchats that were turned into AI nudes.
A nude image in Stevie's case made from her prom photo using artificial intelligence.
Yeah, that's the picture that was altered.
Stevie and her mother, Stephanie Essex, said that around 30 high school girls were the subjects of what the principal called, quote, sensitive images created and circulated on a computer. Richmond Burton Community High School principal Mike Baird sent an email to parents in March saying that they were working with the Richmond Police Department on a, quote, thorough investigation of the incident. Baird declined to comment, citing the involvement of minors. Ultimately, the McHenry County State's Attorney confirmed to Scripps News that 2 unnamed minors were arrested in late April in relation to the Richmond Burton High School case. Both suspects were charged with child pornography, in one case 17 counts of it, and several counts of distribution of harmful material to a minor.
You know, we hunted for that dress and paid a lot of money for that dress, and she looked gorgeous in that dress. And the fact that somebody took that away from her and made a picture that she otherwise had been really super proud of, difficult to look at. It's pretty gross, you know. It's pretty heartbreaking as a mom.
Had you ever heard of these applications before?
No.
I didn't realize that was something that it was capable of doing. I mean, I was completely unfamiliar with the term deepfakes until this situation. Yeah. I honestly had never crossed my radar at all.
As it turns out, that's pretty common. Professor Gabriela Waters is an AI expert and also a researcher here at Morgan State University, where we've come to have her explain to us how this technology actually works. How much time does it take to generate a good deepfake image?
It takes no time at all.
For those of us who are not tech savvy, what is the app doing to generate that image?
So AI are trained on data, and most of these AI have been trained on images. So imagine you're an artist and you started trying to copy the Mona Lisa. So the first few years of your life, you're not going to be really good at it. But if you keep doing that diligently for 20 years, 30 years, you're going to be really good at it. And so imagine that the machine has trained over and over and over without sleeping, without taking a break. And that's why now it can just produce.
To show how these apps work, Scripps News used AI to create a photo, not of a real woman. We wanted to demonstrate just how easy it is to use AI to create nude images. As you can see here, it takes just a few seconds. With AI tools proliferating at a fast and cheap rate, these cases are arising around the country. Scripps News discovered instances of deepfake nude images at schools from Beverly Hills, California to Westfield, New Jersey. The alarming incidents have caught the attention of lawmakers. New York Congressman Joe Morelli wrote a federal bill banning non-consensual deepfake nude images.
It doesn't matter who, in an image and puts it online, it can do tremendous, tremendous damage. And, you know, even for people who know that the image is fake and false, again, it's hard to unsee it.
Morelli's bill makes it illegal to release intimate digital depictions of someone without their consent. Consequences could include jail time, punitive damages, and upwards of $150,000 in civil damages.
You goofball.
Back in Illinois, Stevie works her after-school job at the local dog daycare and says almost everyone in their small community has been supportive of her.
Why did you decide to speak publicly, Stevie, about what has happened?
I just really don't want those photos coming back to haunt me, especially for like college applications and future job opportunities. I don't want those getting out and being sent to future employers and possibly ruining opportunities for me in the future.
Stevie decided not to return to high school and is completing her schooling at home. Coming up, the threats one election worker in North Carolina faced after disinformation spread across the country. One of the most far-reaching threats to women from disinformation and conspiracy theories has been the targeting of election officials, predominantly women, across the country. While predictions of post-election violence did not materialize in the 2024 presidential election, there is still a critical shortage of election workers after years of being targeted by online threats. On average, one election official a day has quit. We traveled to rural North Carolina, where we found one woman who explained the toll that this has taken. Surry County, North Carolina encompasses about 71,000 people and is best known as the birthplace of actor Andy Griffith. His 1960s show about a small town was based on life here, a place where everyone seems to know each other.
Michelle Huff is the head of elections here in Surry County, North Carolina, where she and her staff of just 4 people work year-round to make sure that people can vote.
Good morning. How are y'all doing?
Good.
Michelle, why did you want to do election work?
I thought that'd be a great way to get to know the community, to be involved in elections. And then 2020 made things a little bit different.
It started with phone calls to Huff's office after Election Day in November 2020, and in some cases questions from people she'd known her whole life, asking her in public if the election was valid.
They came up when I was shopping. I just did anything I could to not go out into the public. I was actually in one store in downtown Mount Airy. I was cornered and pressed for 20 minutes. This person was getting everything that they felt for the 2020 election, that Trump did not win because of what election officials in this country did. Even in my church, all of a sudden election officials are people to not be trusted and not believe. It was disheartening, honestly.
Disinformation came to a head for Huff in 2022 when several people pushing so-called election integrity efforts showed up to her office and confronted her for about an hour. The visitors wanted to access voting machines, offered to clean up voter rolls, and claimed proof that the voting machines had pinged cell towers on Election Day 2020. The North Carolina State Board of Elections told Scripps News that outsiders accessing voting machines is illegal and that there is, quote, no evidence whatsoever of chips in voting machines pinging cell towers, adding that it's, quote, conspiratorial nonsense.
This is basically a heavy-duty scanner on top of a trash can bin.
The conspiracy theories may be baseless, but Huff's concern for her physical safety is all too real. And how have you made your office more secure?
When you entered, it was a counter that was about this high, completely open. We were able to get the glass and speaker and everything put in to make this more secure.
Election administration is overwhelmingly female. About 80% of election workers in the U.S. are women. Huff's team reflects that. The 2024 local election officials survey conducted by Brennan Center for Justice found that 38% of those officials reported experiencing threats, harassment, or abuse. Liz Howard says 70% of officials reported that threats against them have increased since 2020.
The typical local election official is a woman who's aged 50 to 64 who makes approximately $50,000 a year.
How does disinformation in the online space impact people in real life?
So disinformation can fuel the conspiracy theories, which can in turn fuel the threats, which can in turn increase the number of election officials who we see leaving the profession. Based on our local election official survey, it appears that we're losing more than one local election official a day.
Huff herself was a registered Republican before taking over the role as election director. And like other Republican strongholds across the country, local and national figures still question election administration and results here. Through public records requests, Scripps News obtained text messages from Keith Center, the head of the local Republican Party, to Surry County commissioners. In one message from March 2022, he says, "Y'all might better get Michelle in check." In another, he writes, "It's gonna get ugly if Huff doesn't get on board," and suggests cutting her salary. He claims he has videos showing ballots being switched, promotes hand counting, and questions whether undocumented residents are voting. Center did not return repeated requests for comment. The North Carolina State Board of Elections reported the threats and harassment against Huff to local, state, and federal law enforcement. No charges have been brought.
How has this harassment impacted your personal life, your daily life?
I didn't expect to have to think about the safety of myself, my staff, my family, but that began to be a reality. That every day we had to think about our safety, leaving work at night. It made you start then wondering, what if?
How are you?
I tell people myself, if you don't believe in elections, come work in them. You will see they're on the up and up. We've had so many precinct officials tell us that in the past few years. That's what keeps us going. That's what keeps us using our time and resources to put information out everywhere we can, correct information. We keep trying.
After Election Day, Liz Howard from the Brennan Center for Justice described the 2024 election as a bright spot, citing minimal disruptions or threats. She added, though, that there is ongoing work needed to fill the decimated ranks of election workers. Next.
I'm here because I don't have choice for my security, for my life.
The lies and intimidation that forced a journalist to flee her country. Now to a trend that has free press advocates concerned about the safety of female reporters. Targeting women journalists with misogynistic speech and lies online is increasingly commonplace. For one journalist in Guatemala, the harassment, disinformation, and threats to her and her family forced her to flee to the United States, where we found her now living in Washington, D.C. Michelle, what made you want to be a journalist? As a television journalist for CNN Español in Guatemala's capital city, Michelle Mendoza covered big stories, including a deadly volcano eruption.
Esta será una cobertura para recordar una de las peores tragedias que ha vivido Guatemala.
5 a.m. to 5 p.m. covering whatever happening. My strong part is covering human histories.
She also covered more controversial stories, traveling with migrant caravans moving north to the U.S. through Guatemala and reporting on violent attacks on those migrants by the Guatemalan army. After 2017, spurred by a United Nations report, she started investigating accusations of criminal networks operating within Guatemala's government, accused of corruption, organized crime, and human rights abuses. What was the corruption that you uncovered in your reporting as a journalist?
They comes to show us how the corruption was encrusted in our state.
But soon after she began reporting on those allegations, she received a frightening warning.
A source talked to me and he told me, hey, you need to be careful because I received the information that the government is going to pay maybe $50,000 to rape to you.
It escalated in 2020, she says, when a new government came into power. False information about Mendoza appeared online, attacking her as a journalist, attacking her as a mother, and attacking her reputation. The disinformation would soon become a gateway to much darker danger. She made the drastic decision in 2023 to apply for asylum in the United States and flee her country. Her asylum application that she shared with us cataloged years of harassment and terror. She says she was stalked and photographed in the supermarket and walking in the park with her daughters. It claims that the Guatemalan army sent a funeral wreath to her parents' home with her name on it. And then there was the sexually explicit video call while she was in the United States for work.
I answered the call, and that was a video, a live video. In there was a man, he's masturbating on live, and he told me that is gonna happen to you if you come back to Guatemala. That was the first time.
For an increasing number of female journalists around the globe, online harassment fueled by disinformation and spread on social media platforms is leading to threats of real-world violence. The ultimate goal? Stop the journalists from reporting. A 3-year-long international study surveyed 1,000 women journalists. More than 70% said they experienced online violence while reporting. More than 40% said that violence was part of what they thought was a coordinated disinformation campaign. Dr. Julie Passetti edited that report.
This is not a problem that's only in countries that we have traditionally associated with despotic regimes and a lack of security for the practice of journalism, or in war zones. This is an issue that affects women from London to Lagos.
How is disinformation factoring into that gender-based online harassment?
Disinformation is a tactic used by malevolent actors, misogynistic networks, foreign state actor-led interventions designed to silence critical reporting.
If these women's journalistic voices are silenced, what is the loss for the public?
The loss is massive. You know, if women journalists are removed from the mix, then we have fewer experiences being reflected, we have fewer sources being contacted, and we have poorer representation for communities who need to see themselves in the coverage of their lives.
Mendoza found refuge in the United States, granted asylum in October 2023. But even here in the country she fled to for safety, the attacks on Mendoza continue. Despite that, she is still reporting, still investigating for a newspaper in Guatemala. But Mendoza has lost the one thing that means the most to a journalist, her byline. Too afraid to put her name on her work.
I never thought to be here, and I'm grateful, thank you. But that wasn't my plan, that wasn't my choice. I'm here because I don't have choice. For my security, for my life.
Mendoza says the threats against her have increased since she decided to speak out. But speaking out, as the women we met in this report all found the courage to do, is what is needed to sound the alarm and drive change. It's a race against lightning-fast technology and against people who hide in the shadows online. And it's one that women can't afford to lose. Thank you for watching Scripps News Reports. I'm Liz Landers in Washington.